Hello and welcome to another episode of the TF Cast. This is episode 24.
And today with us we have singer-songwriter Nici Peper, who came to us by suggestion of Chris and Ben at the Keepin' It Local show. Shout out to you guys for another great suggestion. We just heard some songs from Nici and we are big fans. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm originally from Western Wisconsin. And I moved down here about a year ago. And I don't know. That's about it. That's really all I have to say.
Welcome to Mankato.
Yeah.
The shortest podcast ever.
What brought you here to Mankato then?
Oh, I met a guy on Tinder. And yeah, it was successful. And I just started coming down here more often. And then I just never left.
That's how Mankato gets them typically.
You know,
something like that.
It was like, have you ever been to a town where you've never been there, but you already seem to understand how the streets work? Like you can find your way around really easily. Like it feels like you've been there before.
Yeah, I didn't think anyone would ever describe Mankato as a place where the streets are easy, though.
It's so weird. Like almost immediately, like I knew where to find Walmart and like, you know.
Like the uptown. There's something about Division and Glenwood that I just think they're just these really weird, like long winding streets to nowhere.
There are some places where you can get kind of trapped, like a whirlpool kind of thing, right? Like over there.
I know exactly what you mean.
Drove around for 20 minutes, ended up in the same spot I started.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's talk a little bit of music.
Oh, okay.
That's some part of why you're here. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, I guess, some of how you got started with music, how you got to where you are now, doing live streams all the time. So we can start back a little ways, maybe.
Well, I grew up my mom led the music at my church. So I sang in the choirs and played piano, and then we were in the band. So she started teaching me how to like sing harmonies, and I started a little bit of guitar, and then I was married briefly, but it was like one of those things where you know immediately that it was probably not the right choice. So in order to like start healing from that, I just started playing and just kind of writing things down a lot, and then started playing open mics, and kind of just snowballed, and pretty soon I was just doing that all the time.
So you're a multi-instrumentalist?
Well, I was classically trained on the piano, so I can like sight read music, but as far as like jamming, I don't know. I would really love to revisit the piano because there's so much you can do with it. But.
So you write all your songs on the guitar? Is that the instrument that you kind of like took off with personally, or?
Yeah, it's so easy to travel with.
Oh, I suppose so.
Yeah.
And when did you start playing out?
Where there was this open mic in Hudson, Wisconsin, and I would go there every week with my friends when we were playing. So the owner kind of liked me, and so he had me start doing every Wednesday for 3 hours, and I only had an hour and a half of music. So the first, I was terrible. I had like these really horrible original music, and I knew like 3 or 4 cover songs. And so I would play the hour and a half, then I'd take a break, and then I would play the hour and a half again. And so the second time I was there, this lady, she's like the kickboxing champion of the Midwest. Like this is like 10 years ago or something. But she was hammered, and on my break, she came up and she was like chewing me out, and she's like, if you don't play cover songs, people don't know what you're coming from. People don't know what your deal is or how to take you. And she was like in my face, like this 6'3" Amazon woman chewing me out about cover songs. So I cried and I quit the gig and I went home, and I like learned. So then I learned like a bunch of really well-known covers so that I could play and kind of ease the crowd that way, or appease the crowd. And then I could just slip my originals in there. And that's kind of.
That's what you did. Well, what did you go home and learn? What are your influences?
Van Morrison, Bob Dylan. I tried a couple Janis Joplin songs, but then I gave those up because I was pretty new at it still. Jason Mraz, like kind of the simple happy songs, really.
Mhm.
But now I like to get into more of like the blues and like R&B and rock and roll. We're going to be in a rock and roll cover band here pretty soon. So,
Who's we?
Yeah.
okay. So this is this guy from up by my parents in Amory, Wisconsin. He's in a band from Canada normally called Snake Oil, and they can't play with COVID and the border and everything. So his booking agent wants him to put a project together. So we're going to be doing like Eagles songs, Fleetwood Mac songs, and then people that collaborated with them. And then hopefully touring eventually once we kind of get polished and everything. I've always wanted to be in a rock and roll band. People are like, she sounds like Nora Jones. I'm like, no. Even though Nora Jones is so beautiful, I just wanted to be like rock and roll.
Yeah. So you've started playing something that is not what? How would you describe your own music for people who maybe haven't heard it at home?
I'd say kind of folky, soulful folk, maybe. I like to kind of tell a story or like paint an image, of a scene. I like to put into my song like describing a feeling that other people can relate to. Yes.
Relating to that, your vocal style is one of the things that stood out to me the most right away. I wonder if you can, whether you developed that kind of with specific influences in mind, or it just kind of came naturally. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Thank you for asking me that. I am a little bit shy of a person, and a long time when I was singing, I think that's why I got Nora Jones a lot, because it was, this soft, not mousy, but, like I was a little bit scared, and so I would always kind of just keep it this soft thing. And then people would just come up to me and be like, why can't you just like belt it out or just like let it out? And I'm like, leave me alone. But then it's like, I started, after we did our recording project, every detail had to be so perfect during that project that I started like really nitpicking everything that I was doing. And I just like became really negative inside my own mind. So I was like ready to give up on music because I'm like, this sucks. This is so negative and feels like a job now. And so I started meditating a lot. And then I kind of switched playing music to feel like a meditation. And so that's when like all of a sudden it felt like the dam kind of broke, and all of a sudden, it just started pouring out, and I was suddenly like loud for the first time. But I think it's when I got out of my own way, really, that.
I was going to say you didn't sound very shy in your singing style, so that's interesting to hear. But
well, you guys are so welcoming too and kind. It made me feel really comfortable.
Thank you.
Thanks.
What is this, the moment you said it was kind of like a breakthrough where music and meditation kind of like struck together? Was that a moment while you were playing or something in your thought? What was that moment like?
Well, I had started meditating, and I think it was like I started kind of viewing thinking about how peaceful I felt when I was doing that. And then when I was singing, how like anti-peaceful I felt. And so I'm like, I was playing at a place where it was background music, kind of dinner music anyway. So I was like, well, they're not listening. They don't care. I'm just going to shut my mind off. And I would just like look at the ground and like see the rocks or whatever. And it would just kind of clear my head. And I was like, wow, that feels really, really good. So then I would just start kind of doing that, where like looking at the trees or something that would take me out of that critical voice, and if I thought that people didn't, they weren't judging me, then I could just stop judging me. And then the challenge was like when people actually were listening, for me to still kind of get to the point of shutting my mind off too. But did that answer your question that you were?
Yeah. I mean, there is something, it's very difficult to determine how critically someone's listening to music in general. And I don't know it was
all in my own head, I think.
How we dote over things that no one would even, I think, notice necessarily.
Right. Like if you make a mistake or something, people aren't going to think about that for the next 20 minutes.
Yeah. I remember I think I had at one point a very similar feeling, and it was just over some open mic stuff. And Ocho, who's someone who I look up to a lot, he said, the worst thing you could do is stop. And that to me was just like, like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, if I just don't stop, I won't be the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like with music, you're always kind of in this this space of letting go, aren't you? Like just kind of like you're in this river, and if you hold on to something too much, then it kind of, like if you're focusing back on the mistake that you made, then it's like you kind of got to like always be kind of just letting it go. Otherwise, you want to stop, right? I mean,
yeah, you feel like overwhelmingly self-conscious or something. I don't know. It's hard not to feel like you're on stage when you are.
Right? My mom, she does like this because she's, the pastor, so she's preaching up in front of people, and she feels like the ground beneath her feet, and like that will kind of clear her head.
Oh.
Or like the feeling in your hands,
Just like anything to bring you back to earth a little bit.
Right.
Because it is like literally the space for judgment to some degree,
Right.
like you're up there, and then it is that you've recorded multiple albums now, right? You were talking about that first experience you had where you said that you were kind of like feeling some doubt at that time. What your newer recording that just came out, like you said, 8 months ago previously, was that a different experience?
That was actually such a roller coaster. It was like crushing doubt, and like where I would like leave the session and be like, I suck. I can't, we just need to stop this. And luckily they were like my friends, so they kept going, Nici, just stick with it. Just, but I think that's something that I feel like has kind of plagued me the whole time, is like, I feel like this little voice in my head is going to go, those people are going to realize you're a hack, or like, you're not an artist, or, that little gremlin voice. But
Imposter syndrome.
Isn't yes.
They have a word for that.
Yeah. Have you guys ever experienced that?
Certainly. I mean, like that's like, I feel like sometimes that there's things that you just do out of like the need to validate yourself to yourself,
Yeah.
But yeah.
So you played us 3 songs before we started recording here, and were those from? Where did those ones come from?
All 3 of those are on my album.
The most recent one.
Yep. And actually, these songs, we just took like the best ones, but these songs have also been recorded a little like on and off throughout the years, but they weren't great recordings, so I just kind of, pushed them to the side. But Bluebird was a song that my mom went through breast cancer, and so with my music schedule, I was able to go to appointments with her and stuff a lot. So that song kind of became our relationship. So on the album, she sings harmony with me on there. We cry. Like when I'm playing on stage, if she's in town, she'll come sing.
That's really special.
Yeah. I like to honor people or stories through what I write.
Well, in the one titled Two Old Coots, you mentioned that was about your grandparents too. Yeah,
my great-grandparents. My great-grandpa was a fiddle player in a band with his brothers. I like to tell the story. And they were playing at a barn dance, and he saw my great-grandma out there like dancing on the dance floor. So he set down his fiddle and like went to dance with her, and then that was it. And they were married. He held on to their 70th wedding anniversary before he died. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They really, really adored each other. And it was interesting because I found out that they actually fought quite a bit, but they just loved each other so deeply. Like, just kind of a special.
I don't necessarily think that those things exist, separate to one another, like.
Isn't that interesting?
If a fight wasn't worth having, you'd just probably leave it. Or, I mean, I hope I would, so I think that a lot of times people have lovers' spats, and they're just kind of indicative of what it is. But I can't imagine like, I try to imagine that scene of like someone, like what year, so 70 years ago playing a fiddle at a show like that, like it must have been a very dramatic moment for the fiddle player because it's such a loud instrument, you know?
Right.
To like just stop and be like, oh, I'm going to take this moment and dance with you.
Yeah, I wonder if his brothers were like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You got a job. Get back up here.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Somebody's not getting paid.
It's a grand romantic gesture if
Yeah.
I've ever heard of one.
I know, like I want to know like what kind of dance she was doing too that like got his attention.
Yeah.
What did they do back then? Was it a Charleston or something?
That's the shuffle now.
Well, when would that be, like the 30s, 40s? I don't know.
Yeah.
It'd be cool to research that though.
No video. No one had their smartphone out.
I bet they weren't twerking. Like great
She
grandma.
was just grinding on the barn pole.
My grandma's like, I can't resist.
That fiddle gets me going.
Every time.
Okay, how long you guys have been doing this for 24 episodes now?
Yes, you're our 24th guest
That's true.
today.
How did you start this?
Oh,
It's a great question.
we started it we wanted to do more networking and outreach and like end up being more of a platform. So we thought the best way to do that is to talk to the people who were interested in working with or putting on stage or, you know, doing different things. And the scope of that has really grown a lot, I think. Because originally, I think we were talking about musicians and business owners, like people who we just wanted to work with. And now we're just talking about arts and culture and what's going on. So like it went from, I think it went from business networking to like the community in an actual way. Because I mean, just so much has changed for us in the last 5 months.
Yeah. Well, I think too, we recognized, because we'd been musicians for a little while and played in a couple of things, but recognized that maybe, well, I thought that I could be more effective as like not maybe the person playing the music, but someone who's helping discovery and sharing stories. So
Cool.
we decided to start doing a little bit of a podcast project.
Cool.
Yeah.
There's something about Mankato too, and I don't know if you've encountered it yet, but a lot of times, and this is probably my biggest gripe with the local scene here, is that people treat it like somewhere to leave, and I don't see it as that at all. I think Mankato is like a really great place to stay and make your music, and it has a really strong community of artists here, not just musicians. I'm talking about the creative community at large. People here care, they work together, and there is some real good talent here. And I find out more about it every day. It's just amazing how much is here. But that doesn't change the fact that a lot of times I feel like people have this, what should I do next to push my music forward? And a lot of times that answer is like, I'm going to go move to Minneapolis, or I'm going to go somewhere else. And, you know, I respect everyone's choices and whatever they do. But you know, you can play music from anywhere now, and you can always go on the road. And I think we have a really great thing going on here.
What I've noticed and of course COVID kind of halted everything, but you know, because I've lived different places, and the music scene here, the people, the artistic community seems so warm and so welcoming. Like in other places, you know, it feels like there's competition, or you know, people are kind of jealous of each other or whatever. You know, insecurity kind of runs among musicians anyway, you know. Because we all are, it's so emotional. But I just have noticed here, people are so willing to like reach out and be like, hey, you know, this is who I am, this is what I do, what do you do? Like, it just felt like I had friends almost immediately. And I mean, it feels like kind of family, like.
I would hope so. How long have you been in the region?
I moved here probably about a year ago.
Okay.
And then I didn't really come around much for a while because I was finishing gigs up from where I used to be from, so I would always be leaving. And then it was only like since like January, February, I think, that I've started. Well, Mankato Brewery offered me a couple gigs right away, so that kind of got things started.
Mm-hmm.
Probably December, I think.
How did you like playing at the Mankato Brewery? It's quite a large space.
Yeah, it was cool. I played there. Eric Koskinen played with me there, and he's been a super welcoming person for me, a good friend. And then I opened for there was a country band, Switch Road.
Oh, I've not heard of them.
Pretty sure it was a while ago. But it was for their big anniversary party, so that's when I started to meet people. But I'm kind of excited for this. Well, I think we're all really super excited for when the pandemic is over. But I'm so excited to start going out to shows and like, I mean, there's so many cool like festivals and venues and
yeah. Well, there's
clubs.
I wish there was venues here.
What happened to the Red Rocks Lounge? Because I've heard of that place. But do you not want to talk about
Oh, no, it's fine. I don't know if anyone's ever officially said anything, and I'm happy to say I'm heartbroken. I'm happy to say that I am heartbroken that it is closed. And it will be closed permanently. It's not being reopened, at least not under that. And I don't know what's going into that space at all.
Where was it?
It was downtown. It was next to the Free Press building in the mall. You couldn't walk to it. You couldn't see it on the main drag, like where, Rounders and Blue Bricks and Pub 500 is. You'd have to go up a little ways. And, that's where the open mic, there's 2 open mics in town here that are every week, or there was. And one of them was at Red Rocks on Thursday, and then the other one is on Tuesday.
Pub 500,
Pub
yeah.
500 is
I went
Tuesday.
there. Ocho does that one,
Yep,
right?
Ocho did both of them. And they were both, it was really cool because, and I mean, it still remains cool to this day, but with Pub, you would have it was like a little more laid back atmosphere. And, anyone could play there, of course, but like at Red Rocks, it was more of like a big stage and like some of those more high energy acts that I feel like maybe would have had the kind of opinion that they were being slightly disruptive in such a quiet and small, like not jumpy aroundy. Like there was some really cool like hip hop performances that happened at Red Rocks where, like 3 or 4 guys would just, roll up and it would be this high energy stage show at an open mic. And it was super cool that there's kind of like both ends of that available. You could have a quiet thing or you could have like a high energy thing. I mean, we had 4-piece rock bands playing at open mic there too.
Wow.
It was just really cool to have a drum set there all the time. That makes a big difference. But yeah, that's not going to be there anymore. And someone should open up a dancing bar. There's no dancing.
Really?
There's no place designated for dancing. I mean, like Rounders, they clear out the tables or whatever. But it's not the same kind of like, I mean, Red Rocks was huge open floor, like dance floor where you were there to dance or go to a show. It was clear that was the philosophy. Rounders, there is dancing, but it's also clearly a place that you're supposed to get dinner, and it's a sports bar. So, I mean, it's all the same but different.
That's surprising with a college in town.
Yeah.
That there would be.
I mean, I'm sure every local could tell you about the way that it has become what it is with the downtown. There was a whole lot of high profile problems that happened a good number of years ago that brought a lot of regulations into how people are allowed to party downtown. And it's just, it's very different now than what it used to be. So yeah, but I really hope someone opens up a venue or a nightclub or something, because that's what I feel like that spot really, really needs. And Red Rocks was doing it, and COVID knocked it out.
Blast it.
Yeah, sucks. Loved it. Loved working there. Love the people. Miss it a lot.
I wish if I had the big bucks, I'd be like,
yeah,
in a heartbeat. That'd be so fun.
Open up a venue. That's like a a thing in Mankato.
Downtown Mankato could really use another one because,
Yeah.
I mean, they've got Square Deal does a little bit now, but otherwise not really.
They've got a nice stage there. They have a really nice stage at the Square Deal, and I just feel like the space is a little bit underutilized in
Is that
way.
a country? Is that like is there cowboy boots like on the outside
Yeah,
of it?
there's like a washboard and a flag, and there's a neon.
There's a washboard. Yeah.
They got a washboard on the wall.
That says it all right there.
Yeah. It's a cool spot though. I mean, it's fine. I don't know who's booking shows there or what, but no one's really booking shows anywhere.
Yeah.
Wine Cafe has almost been the most happening music spot with their outdoor stage setup, but even that. Well, so when you got started performing, what was that like to? You said earlier that you had gone from being really shy in your performance to kind of like finding your own. Did you do that throughout your time, like being a live performer? I guess what I'm trying to ask is like, were some of your earlier performances really different in the way that you just kind of hadn't figured out what the thing was yet?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they were more boring, but I used to do every other Friday at the Hammond Hotel, the legendary Hammond Hotel. It used to be like a whorehouse before it became a bar. And so it was this really cool, like kind of trashy, great place. So that it's like, that's how I started kind of picking and choosing what cover songs, I'd do like Rolling Stones and things like that, like to kind of, Johnny Cash and different things because I would always have such a wide variety of people there, but people would always like try to get me to drink. And I think it's because I was so shy that they thought that if I got drunk and then played, like, it would be like this super wild time. But no, so I would get so mad because instead of tipping me, they would put like shots on my amp. I had like 5 shots lined up one time. I'm like, I have to drive home, you jerks. Like, come on. And then, yeah, I tried the drinking thing one time, and it was like this songwriter thing where like, it was like all these people from like the cities and stuff, and I was super nervous. And it was like laid back. It was like friend stuff, but I was so nervous. So I played my set, then I took a bunch of shots with my friends, and then I had to go up for another set. So I got up for my second set, and I couldn't remember what I played my first set. So I was like, okay, I got to figure out some other way to like deal with my anxiety. And I don't know. I liked the ones where you could drive a while before you get there. Because you could kind of just drive and just kind of wear off a little anxiety that way. But yeah, the meditation thing has been huge because then I just feel like I'm just kind of in the moment and I'm not so worried about, saying something stupid or singing out of tune, or just kind of go with the flow. And then I think you're kind of engaging more with people, because you're kind of watching them, and if they say something to you, you can just react. It's
more present with it.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I think it's helped. People have come to see me more often.
One of the things that I notice, even in my own musical experience, is that sometimes it's difficult to go out and try something, and it makes more sense in your head to like get it all perfect before you bring it out into public. But especially with music, it seems like it's something that you really do just have to put out there, because it's very, especially if you're inexperienced, it's super unlikely for it to be good. Almost like you really need to iterate it a bunch and keep it moving. So, and I don't think people see that, they see an artist that they love and they've probably already done that thing. You don't necessarily get to watch them fail a bunch. So.
Right. Who was it? Was it Dave Grohl that said you got to suck in your basement for a while before you start to like, it's good for you to, try and fail. And then the successes become so much more sweet, but it is nice when it's like muscle memory. But when I was in my head so much and so negative, like my mom started this ukulele group for her church, and it was like all ages. There's like 15 of them, and they just get together and play. All different kinds of like skill levels, and they were having so much fun. It was like, it clicked in my head. like, oh yeah, music is supposed to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Yes, play.
Yeah, just have like let it out and enjoy it.
Who do you play with on stage? Either the people themselves or like what kind of instrumentation? Are you a singer-songwriter like by yourself, or do you play with a band?
Before COVID, we were doing some band stuff. There was a drummer from the cities that I play with whenever I can. He's so good. His name's Mark. And then we would have bass and lead guitar. I play with Kit Kildall once in a while. He and I are doing that Grand Center for Arts and Culture in New Ulm on Halloween, and he plays like lead and harmonica. But I did mostly solo stuff because I felt like I could get more of a paycheck playing by myself. So that's what I did for a long time.
Do you, in those sorts of situations, do you end up writing all the parts, or do you just kind of hit a flow with the other musicians you have with you?
I actually could use a lot more practice in just utilizing a band, because that was something that, like, even in the studio, like they'd be like, well, what do you hear for like the mandolin solo here or whatever? And I really love what people bring, because like I hear something in my head, but I like when people bring something kind of fresh and new. So I feel like if I were to tell them what to do, it kind of limits, what they're. But then again, if they're going in a completely wrong direction, it's hard for me to voice what direction I'm going into. So that's something that I'd like to do more after the COVID thing is over, is just play with people more often.
Yeah, with musicians, it's like so much of it is the energy that person has, and it's hard to like connect with a lot of musicians and like find that energy, because it is kind of like you just got to like collide things together and see what happens.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Well, what do you have going on planned for going forward? I know you mentioned the touring project, little rock band action.
Yeah, rock and roll. Like, I don't know. I'm hoping it's like, because the band that he's from was making great money I've never made before, and it's the same booking agency. So I feel like if I had a project where I was making good money and it was fun, then I could use that to, continue the solo, or not the solo, but like the songwriting thing, because original music, as you guys know, it's hard to get good money, for doing that. But then I could do it for recording, fund my own personal things. What are you guys going to do?
What are we going to do when the pandemic's over?
Yeah, take over the world.
That's phase 1.
Probably
phase 2.
Yeah, phase 2 is definitely like just use our stage equipment again.
Yeah.
Like right before this all happened, we invested a good amount of money in like getting a fairly large PA, so we could do mobile PA and set up bands. And now it's just kind of sitting there waiting.
Yeah. So we hope to run shows and host things. Have something we can refer our guests to, maybe shows we're hosting or whatever else.
Where would you want to do that?
I don't even have a good answer for that at the moment. It depends on, back to the venues. We don't really know what's going on around here, but
it's so hard to like feel like, what is it going to be like in a year? What is it going to look like? Mm-hmm. It's so sad to me when venues like go under, like the Red Rocks Lounge. Mm-hmm. There was a place back home I play every month.
Yeah, I'm hoping, second quarter, maybe end of first quarter next year, we start to see like some indoor stuff. It's like not something that I even really want to say too loud, because sometimes you say stuff and it's kind of like perceived like, oh, we should push it forward. And it's like, well, no, it should be when people are safe, but you just hope. You can't not hope, because, we're musicians. Like even if you're doing the sound and lights, like you don't do sound and lights because you do it because you love putting on shows. Yeah. Like, it's not like there's certainly you go to college and get a better job and like make more money doing something else. I don't know. But yeah, that's our thing.
Yeah, I'm hopeful we get the dance club. I can get some more DJ gigs too. That'd be
Sure.
cool. But one thing at a time. Right now, we've adapted pretty well to this podcasting thing here, I think, and I've been enjoying it. So happy to see that go on too.
What kind of music would you play when you're DJing?
Well, I used to DJ at Red Rocks too, so it's a lot of top 40 club, hip hop, dance kind of stuff. But I'm all over the place.
Did you play Thrift Shop by Macklemore?
I did on
gonna
occasion.
pop some tags.
On occasion, I did.
Yeah, that song is. I never get tired of that song.
That's fun. Otherwise, my DJ vibes maybe more like a coffee shop with a rainy day. So
Oh, nice.
that doesn't happen as much, but
Do you have like a Spotify?
I do. But I'm not really doing plugs on the podcast for that. Appreciate your asking. I'll tell you later.
Okay.
All right. Well, should we begin to wrap this up?
Sure.
That went fast. Thanks for the chat.
Thank you. Do you have any plugs, shout outs you'd like to give or let people know where they can find you going forward?
Well, we mentioned Chris and Ben on the local show. That's tomorrow at noon on KMSU. We just like to support those guys. And then the next show I've got is in New Ulm with Kit Kildall on Halloween, 7:00 at the Grand Center for Arts and Culture. And I'm pretty sure that's all I have in the area at the moment.
If someone wants to find your music online, where can they go?
Someday soon, my website will be back up, which is just NiciPeper.com. But otherwise, there's stuff on YouTube.
Do you want to connect people with your streaming? Maybe not.
From my Facebook page, I have been doing lunch tunes this week, just a half hour at noon. But that's more just trying to get myself, like it is to connect with people, and it's fun because people are actually tuning in. But it's like to try to discipline myself to like be ready to sing at noon, which is embarrassing how much of a challenge that has been. For me to like be ready.
Yeah, no, I wake up at 11. It's fine. I get it.
Yeah, it's like you're on that art, like, I don't know. I feel like the artist schedule, a lot of people are night owls. And,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah. I thought that it would get easier as the week went on, but it's actually just going downhill. So we'll see about tomorrow. I have to make it.
Well, tune in, catch it. All right. Thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We'll post the song so people can give it a listen.